Good evening, everyone. We're going to get started. Welcome to the April Hoboken Board of Education meeting. Mr. Bolden, can you please read the statement of compliance?
Sure. This meeting is being held in conformity to the Open Public Meeting Act, NJSA 1046 et sequentia. Proper public notice of the meeting was published in the local papers on April 4th, 2019 and April 6th, 2019. If any board member or member of the public in attendance believes that the meeting is in violation of the Open Public Meeting Act, the Hoboken Board of Education requests that they make a statement at this time. The board wishes to make those in attendance aware that this meeting is being recorded on video and will be broadcast by the board at a later date on cable TV channel 77 and FiOS channel 46. The full meeting recording will also be made available on board docs, which can be accessed through the district homepage. The Hoboken Board of Education is committed to preserving the decorum of the public process and is mindful that we live in the electronic age of computers, cell phones, and other electronic communication devices. Nevertheless, we respectfully request that all meeting participants kindly silence their electronic devices during the course of the meeting, and if use of the device is necessary, we ask that you please leave the meeting room if you need to conduct personal business. Let's rise for the salute to the flag.
America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we take the roll call, please?
Sure. Ms. Catamatori.
Here.
Ms. Delara.
Here.
Mr. Delatour.
Here.
Ms. Evans.
Here.
Ms. Kana.
Here.
Mr. Klipfel.
Here.
Ms. McGuirk.
Here.
Ms. Takirian.
Here.
And Ms. Angley.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, now I'd like to pass the meeting over to Dr. Johnson for her superintendent's report.
Thank you. Tonight is an exciting Board of Education meeting as we're going to be honoring a number of students, schools, and programs. I'd like to provide some background as the theme that you are going to hear about tonight that's going to run through each of the presentations is STEAM education. In 2011, in his State of the Union address, President Barack Obama told Congress and the country, "This is our generation's Sputnik movement." It was his call for the United States to ramp up technological innovation in order to stay competitive with other nations. Obama called for the United States to seize this modern movement for our youth, asking educators to prioritize 21st century skills in learning. The STEM education movement advocates moving away from segmented content areas, emphasizing technology to connect subjects and relating teaching to the outside world. STEM impresses 21st century skills acquisition so that students can gain proficiency in collaboration, questioning, problem solving, and critical thinking. More recently, John Maida, former president of the Rhode Island School of Design, championed the STEM to STEAM movement, campaigning to add the arts to STEM and bring the initiative to the forefront of the educational community. His argument, design thinking and creativity are essential ingredients for innovation. This evening, we will be awarding all 4 of our elementary schools with national distinctions for Project Lead the Way STEM programs. We will also be recognizing 3 amazing young women from Hoboken High School who recently were informed that they earned full scholarships to the Stevens Institute of Technology Summer ACES program, which is dedicated to leveraging equity in the field of science, technology, and math. We will also be honoring our Hudson County Jersey Journal Spelling Bee finalists, as well as our very talented instrumentalists from Wallace Elementary School, who were recently selected to perform in the Select Elementary Honors Band through the North Jersey School of Music Association. And of course, we're going to be honoring our Students of the Month. Before I turn the recognition portion over to Mr. Delafave and then to Ms. Rodriguez-Gomez, I do have a few important announcements. The 2019-2020 district calendar will be presented to the Board of Education for review and consideration at the May meeting. The calendar has a start date for all students of Thursday, September 5th, following our same pattern of 2 professional development days on Tuesday and Wednesday. And the Board of Education will hold a public hearing for the 2019-2020 budget on May 7th. This meeting is posted on the district's website. It is at this meeting that the Board of Education will present an overview of the district's budgets and plans to address budget challenges. This will include a discussion and determination regarding the repurposing of the Calabro School. On to recognitions. There are a few very special educators that I would like to recognize that are here with us this evening. First, will Ms. Michelle McGreevy, Ms. Danielle Miller, and Mr. Chris Williams from Hoboken High School please stand? Okay. I would also recognize Mr. Samuel Thomas. However, he is in Japan with our high school students on a biomedical sciences tour. I'd like to publicly thank both of you for your dedication to the district and for planning and implementing our recent Family Theater Day and Makerspace Day. Both of these events were joined together and held for the entire community at large. Both of you continuously go above and beyond, and your efforts do not go unrecognized. From leading school and district events to serving on statewide committees, you are a testament to the high quality of professionals that we have in our district. Thank you for making the Family Theater and Makerspace Day a reality. We're all looking forward to it again next year. Thank you. As everyone knows, Ms. Miller is heavily involved in our district's theater and drama programs, and she presents and does professional development all over the state of New Jersey. She serves on multiple committees. Ms. McGreevy is a little bit more quiet. She's our high school librarian, but she's a force to be reckoned with. She is involved in every single committee at Hoboken High School, and one of the things that I would like to point out is that the district is embarking upon a journey for Future Ready Schools certification, which is a technology-oriented certification that is given to each school and or to a district. And not only is Michelle leading our team in this effort, but she also serves on the committee to evaluate Future Ready Schools. She has been trained, and she's a valuable member of the Future Ready Schools team as well. So thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Danielle, for everything you do. Next, I would ask Ms. Safko, Mr. Enrico, and Mr. Stasiak if these 3 individuals could please stand. We have a range of talented music teachers in the district. We honor our teachers continuously, but these 3 are particularly being recognized tonight for their work in building strong instrumentalists who love performing music. Tonight we have young musicians from Wallace Elementary School who were selected to participate in a highly touted honors band throughout the state of New Jersey. These children are encouraged and pushed to meet the highest of goals by these 3 staff members, as well as our other music teachers throughout the district. We thank the 3 of you in particular for this award and for the accomplishments of these particular students. We thank you for your work, your dedication to the music program, and for making this opportunity a reality for our students. We're proud of them, but we're also grateful that each of you are a part of our district. Thank you. And one last public recognition before I turn this over to Mr. Delafave. On the agenda tonight, we have the retirement of Mr. Gary Enrico, 43 years of service in the Hoboken Public School District. So Gary has quickly become a steadfast partner and an educational friend to me. I'm certainly going to miss him greatly. I planned on recognizing him when he asked me to actually address the board toward the end of the school year. But tonight, there are some staff members that are here knowing that his retirement is on the agenda. So I'd like to ask Ms. Roseanne Versace if she can just come up and say a few words before we go on to the student recognition. Ms. Versace? Where is she? She was here.
She's here.
She was. Okay, so we'll wait for Ms. Versace for the public portion of the meeting. I'm sure she will come back up. She has some planned remarks that she wanted to discuss. At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Chris Delafave. He's our Director of Innovative Programs for the district to come on up and say a few words.
Good evening, everyone. And good evening, everybody. I just want to turn this way really quickly because there's so many amazing stories, students, teachers, colleagues that are here tonight, and I'm just blessed to be part of such a wonderful educational community. So wonderful job, excellent work. So, good evening. We have a lot to celebrate tonight. 3 years ago, I was asked by the superintendent to research and implement a nationally recognized STEAM curriculum known as Project Lead the Way. I immediately dove headfirst into the curriculum adoption and evolution strategies, professional development for teachers, and student-centered course offerings. Now, only 3 years into our PLTW journey, we are being recognized at a national and state level for our in-depth offerings, unique implementation style, and thoughtfully crafted curriculum. Our PLTW offerings provide access and opportunity for all learners to engage in design thinking, the scientific method, technical skills, and a linear and clinical understanding of computer science, biomedical science, and engineering. From kindergarten to 12th grade, our Project Lead the Way immersion is a testament to the district's commitment of transformative learning experiences that empower students to develop in-demand knowledge and skills that mirror real-world career and life experiences. The best part, we've only just begun. 265 elementary schools nationwide are celebrating recognition as distinguished schools in Project Lead the Way's launch program, grades K to 5. Of those 265 nationwide schools, only 4 elementary schools in the state of New Jersey have earned this distinction. Those 4 schools are Wallace, Brant, Connors, and Calabro. .268 schools nationwide are celebrating recognition as a distinguished schools in Project Lead the Way's Gateway program, which is grades 6 to 8. 6 schools in New Jersey share this honor. 3 of the 6 schools in New Jersey awarded this honor are Wallace, Connors, and Calabro. As Director of Innovative Programs, it was my charge and my pleasure to creatively think through and implement Project Lead the Way for all our learners. Under Dr. Johnson's leadership and decision to bring this incredible program to our district, we are at the start of our journey towards becoming a premier leader in the area of STEM learning. We know that there is still much to accomplish. We are working tirelessly in the area of mathematics and laboratory sciences. I have no doubt that we will soon rise to the top. Our principals provide daily oversight of our PLTW programs and ensure that operations and logistics are successful. It's the teachers who sacrifice their time for training during the summer months and work to bring unique, exciting, rigorous, and relevant learning experiences to our students. Recognition tonight is not just for our principals and teachers who day in and day out work to provide opportunities necessary for the 21st century learner, but also our amazing students for their commitment to success and continuous effort to improve and reach higher. On a final note, I look forward to adding Hoboken Middle School and Hoboken High School to the list of distinguished programs as well. We are on course for Hoboken Middle School to earn Gateway's honors next year, and high school's PLTW program in biomedical science, computer science, and engineering have one more year of course implementation before we begin the award application process. Once again, I'd like to congratulate Brant, Calabro, Connors, and Wallace for a job well done and this national and state level recognition. Wonderful job. We will be, I'll be up here, and I'd like to now turn it over to the principals to recognize the students of the month and their awards. We will be pausing for a brief break afterwards to celebrate some of the banners that we received from Project Lead the Way to show distinction. I'd like to first call upon Mr. Bartlett to come up to represent Brant School.
Good evening, everyone. At this time, I would like to ask the Joseph F. Brant School Student of the Month for March 2019, Ms. Josephine Slusher, to join me at the podium. Josephine was nominated by her first grade homeroom teacher, Mrs. Mylock. Mrs. Mylock had this to say about her: creative, kind, vivacious, and respectful. These are just a few words that come to mind when describing my student, Josephine Slusher. Josie is a true pleasure to have in class, as she is diligent in her studies, conscientious and kind towards her classmates, and possesses a true zest for learning. Her unflappable enthusiasm for learning is one of her most admirable qualities. I consider it a true honor to be her teacher. Mrs. Mylock was quick to add that as a first grader, Josie is reading above grade level and performing above grade level in both math and language arts. As principal, whenever I see Josie in her class with her friends, she is always leading by quiet example. Truly, she models all of the traits of a student of the month and uplifts all around her. I always look forward to her smile and a high five. Josie is conscientious and kind towards each and every one of her classmates, as well as her teachers. She is a true embodiment of what it means to be a Brant buddy, as she genuinely cares for the well-being of her classmates. She is always ready and willing to help a friend in need. In her spare time, Josie loves drawing, being silly with her baby sister Emmy, loves to dance, is a keen fan of Harry Potter books, loves inventing new things, and learning magic tricks. Her favorite subject is math. Her favorite singer is Taylor Swift. When Josie grows up, she wants to be an engineer. I can certainly vouch for her skills as a future engineer. During a recent game of Jenga, Josie was responsible for several bold and creative design moves that helped create a very tall Jenga tower that I eventually knocked over. When told she would be receiving this honor, Josie said, "I am so happy to be at Brant. There are so many great teachers here that make me feel supported." In addition, Josie prepared a brief statement. Do you want to read it, or you want me to read it? You want me to read it? That I will read to you now. It was hard work, but very exciting to be the Brant Student of the Month. I had to work hard and listen to directions. I am so happy to be it, and I'm very lucky to be the Brant Student of the Month. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. This is a dream come true. I am also very happy to be in Brant with very kind teachers and amazing friends. I am so happy to be with all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in one more round of applause for the Joseph F. Brant Elementary School Student of the Month for March 2019, Ms. Josephine Slusher.
Chris, they're going to do the spelling bee kits first, and then we'll do them. Oh, you don't have that? Okay.
So, this is what we're going to do. You take one side.
Oh, how cute.
One.
That's a good idea.
No, you're good. At this time, I believe I'm going to turn it over to the principal of the Calabro School, Mr. Jack Baker.
Good evening, everyone. This time, I'd like to call up to the stage Sebastian Garcia, the Calabro School District Student of the Month. Sebastian Garcia has attended Salvatore R. Calabro School since kindergarten. He is an outstanding student who is well deserving of this recognition. Sebastian is a hard worker who always strives to set new goals for himself. He has been a talented and passionate member of our string and chorus program for the past 3 years. He is a young man of outstanding character and is always there for his classmates and willing to help out at the drop of a hat. Sebastian loves social studies and being able to connect with stories of the past. If given the choice, he would always incorporate technology into his learning because of the endless opportunities it presents. Sebastian is quite the athlete, playing baseball, soccer, and football outside of school. His favorite football team is the Seattle Seahawks, but he can give you an unparalleled history and play-by-play of many teams. Sebastian finds the idea of traveling around the world to be thrilling and dreams of being able to go to Portugal one day. Despite being unsure what career he wants when he graduates from college, he thinks being a dentist would be fun. When Sebastian is not on stage, on the field, or in school, he enjoys spending time with his family and his dog. His teacher, Mr. Hune, quotes, "I have had the unique opportunity to teach Sebastian in both 4th and 5th grade. To many, Sebastian may seem on the quiet side, but when you get to know him, his personality shines. He is humorous and a risk-taker in the classroom. I will always remember the way he busted a move during the production of our class movie, Anne Frank. He is the kind of student that never gives up. He perseveres even when something seems challenging, and I think that is in part to his exuberant personality. There were no truer words spoken that exemplifies who Sebastian is as a person and as a student than those of Walt Disney. Laughter is timeless. Imagination has no age, and dreams are forever. I know Sebastian will never give up on his dreams, and he will continue to strive for greatness, both inside and outside of the classroom." As his principal, I'd like to say a few words. Aristotle once said, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit." When I think about Sebastian, I think about a student who is excellent because he has made a habit of doing the right thing. Sebastian is truly a role model for his classmates, a kind of person with great character and a determined academic achiever. Sebastian is the kind of student who does the right thing, and even when nobody is watching, even when it is hard. He is an ideal representative of the Calabro School, and I could not be prouder of him. Sebastian quotes, "The quote that best describes me is, 'Only I can change my life. No one can do it for me,' by Carol Burnett. I am so honored to receive this award, and it makes me feel so awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce to you Sebastian Garcia as the Calabro School District Student of the Month." This time, I would just like to recognize the Calabro finalist at the 60th Annual Hudson County Spelling Bee that was held April 9th. Receiving this award tonight for in honor of Amelie Catamatori. Just like to introduce her dad here tonight. Thank you.
Calabro gets 2 batters, so they got one for launch and another for gateway. So we're going to need a volunteer to help me. And I love it.
she is. Is it drinking coffee? Alcohol.
Spread them out.
Good evening. At this time, I'd like to invite Jayla Johnson, who was the Connors Student of the Month, up. Jayla Johnson was nominated for Student of the Month because she is a role model in the class in which her peers look up to her. They always see her working extremely hard in everything that she does, and she's a very caring individual. Jayla is dedicated to her academics and is constantly earning A's and B's in school. Jayla likes to participate and answer questions proposed to the class. Jayla is constantly working on ways to improve herself academically and remains focused on her homework and her assignments. Jayla interacts with her peers in a polite and kind manner and provides her teachers with the utmost respect. Every day, Jayla brings a positive attitude to school and the class and is a pleasure to have as a student. Jayla's favorite subject in school is math. When she grows up, Jayla wants to become a tornado chaser. When Jayla is not in school, she likes to do many things, such as being active outside, walking her dog, playing sports such as basketball, softball, and football, drawing, and listening to music. Dr. Pollins feels that Jayla is an asset to the Connors School community because she is truly a great example of a kind and caring student. Her commitment and dedication to displaying exceptional behavior throughout the school day and her ability to take intellectual risks is outstanding. Jayla was asked what she enjoyed about Connors Elementary School, and she shared that every day is a great day to learn something new here. When Dr. Pollins thinks about Jayla, she thinks of the following quote by Muhammad Ali: "If my mind can conceive it, if my heart can believe it, then I can achieve it." We support Jayla as she achieves everything that she sets out to do and are happy to have her as our Student of the Month. Congratulations, Jayla. At this time, I would also like to congratulate one of my fellow students, Jaden Soriano, as he was a finalist at the 60th Annual Hudson County Spelling Bee.
Good evening, everyone. At this time, I'd like to call Ms. Scarlett Verba, the Wallace School Student of the Month, to the podium, please. It is my pleasure to nominate Scarlett Verba as the March 2019 Student of the Month for Wallace Elementary School. Scarlett was nominated by her first grade teacher, Ms. Veda because she is a hard worker and has grown tremendously since the beginning of the year. Academically, Scarlett has been doing a beautiful job. She has a great imagination and writes elaborate stories. Even her classmates ask if she could read her stories out loud because they are so fun to listen to. Scarlett is independent and motivated. She never passes up an opportunity to do extra credit, both in math and language arts. As the principal, I admire her hard work, dedication, and creativity Scarlett places on her work. She takes pride in her academics and loves to share her work with her classmates. I also appreciate the positive leadership Scarlett shows with her peers. Character is of the utmost importance at the Wallace School, and Scarlett embodies this every day. Fashion design and art are just a few of her favorite interests. Ms. Veda was quoted in saying, "I could always count on her to give me a compliment on my outfit." Scarlett hopes to attend the Fashion Institute of Technology to help her pursue a future career in fashion. Scarlett is a great role model to her peers and helps others make bucket-filling decisions at Wallace School. There is something to be said for hard work. Scarlett is a perfect example of this. Thank you, Scarlett, for your kindness, creativity, and dedication to enhancing the culture at Wallace School. We are so happy you are a part of the Wallace School community. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Scarlett Verba, the Wallace Elementary School March 2019 Student of the Month. At this time, I'd also like to recognize the finalists at the 60th Annual Hudson County Spelling Bee, Reedy Damani and Haley Dobson.
Not yet.
This is Wallace School. Thank you, sir. At this time, we'd also like to recognize Region 1 Elementary Level Honors Band in Tegan Clark. Desiree Cirilli. And Jayla Dale. Mrs. Stasiak, would you like to be a part of it?
What's wrong?
Ready to go? All right, let's hold the banner. We got the banners here. At this time, I'd like to turn the mic over to Dr. Abraham, the principal of Hoboken Middle School.
At this time, I'd like to introduce the Student of the Month for Hoboken Middle School, Sam Garcia. Sam's teacher nomination comes from his art teacher, Miss Vasilino. She said, Sam is a student that exemplifies the spirit of HMS, showing excellence beyond academics. Sam is a friend to anyone and everyone, and always brightens up their day. He is an active member of the school community. Sam is a natural-born leader and thrives when given responsibility. He is highly deserving of Student of the Month and continues to be a valuable part of the Hoboken Middle School community. And now time for the principal's recommendation. It is my immense pleasure to recognize Sam Garcia as the Student of the Month for Hoboken Middle School. Sam brings terrific enthusiasm, energy, and charisma to Hoboken Middle School each day. When I think of Sam Garcia, one word comes to mind: leadership. Sam demonstrates leadership in many ways. He demonstrates a tireless work ethic in the classroom and challenges himself and those around him to be the best version of themselves. In result, Sam has earned honor roll each marking period for this year and has motivated his entire peer group to do the same. Sam has a knack for public speaking and leading by example. He uses his voice to inspire and empower all those around him, and he does this on a daily basis. Sam has served as the Hoboken Middle School coordinator for Cocoa with the Cop, where we hosted over 60 students and facilitated conversations around effective methods for the community and local law enforcement to work together. In our quest to raise funds for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, Sam made it his personal mission to raise money for families in need. Sam stated, "It made me happy to help kids suffering from this awful disease. I hope that the money we raise can help find a cure so that nobody has to go through what they have in their lives." He noted, "I also enjoyed the prize of pieing my principal during our school-wide assembly. That was rewarding as well." Sam participates in Cardio Club, where he pushes himself and others to always do their best. He regularly takes initiative to help students with special needs accomplish challenging physical tasks. These students have grown to love Sam and hug him each time they see him in the hallway. Most recently, Sam served as a Hoboken Middle School Community Book Club ambassador. In this position, he excelled at mentoring current 5th and 6th grade students in the club. The program encompasses over 90 families and continues to grow. He serves as a mentor to each and every one of these families. Sam is also a big fan of PGP and takes great pride in his schedule comprised of Makerspace, Genius Hour, Mathletes, and Law Adventure. To gain a true understanding of Sam's personality, I'd like to provide some statistics which he and his classmates discovered in their most recent Mathletes unit titled, "The Probability of a Perfect March Madness Bracket." Every game in the March Madness tournament has 2 possible winners, and there are 63 games played. If you made a wild guess for each game without taking things like seed or even hunches into consideration, then your chances of getting a perfect bracket are 2 to the 63rd power, or 1 in 9.2 quintillion. A quintillion is 1 billion billions, to put that into perspective. Sam and his peers gave the following examples of things that you have better odds at in accomplishing. 1, winning the Powerball, 1 in 2.9 million. 2, becoming the President of the United States, 1 in 10 million. 3, winning a gold medal at the Summer Olympics, 1 in 23.4 million. 4, making 8 half-court shots in a row, 1 in 39 trillion. I'd like to provide a statistic of my own. A student like Sam Garcia is 1 in a million. There is nobody more deserving of Student of the Month at Hoboken Middle School than Sam Garcia. Congratulations.
Good evening, everyone. At this time, I'd like to call up Emily Schroeder, Hoboken High School's March Student of the Month. I am thrilled to present Emily Schroeder as our Hoboken High School Student of the Month. She is by far one of the most brightest and well-rounded students in the junior class. Academically, she is involved in honors courses as well as AP coursework, but what is really shaping her future is her commitment to our Project Lead the Way biomedical science program. She is finishing her third year medical interventions and will enter her final year by completing biomedical innovation. Through her studies, she has been involved in various programs, beginning with the Rutgers Pre-Med Honors Program, and then this year she was part of NJCU's STEAM competition. Do you want to share with everyone the good news? Go ahead.
I just got the good news from Mr. Thomas, he is now in Japan, that we are entering the finals from the STEAM competition.
Sorry, put you on the spot. But they created a diabetes indicator, and that advanced her team. So when I wrote this, it was just to the North Jersey Regional competition. And a few weeks ago, her group took home gold in Girls in Technology event at Hudson County Community College. Of course, learning does not end in June, as Emily has been awarded a full scholarship to attend Stevens Institute's ACES pre-college program this summer. She will spend 2 weeks in a hands-on immersion program in a chosen field of study. It is no surprise she has chosen biomedical science. This is impressive, but I even have more. This year, Emily hit another first. She was the first Hoboken High School student to be chosen to be a member on the NJSIAA Student Athlete Advisory Committee. This is a rigorous screening process where the state only chooses a few potential leaders, and Emily was selected to this prestigious organization and now serves as a representative for student athletes all over New Jersey. We are proud to have her as a leader of our Red Wing athletic community. Mr. Munoz states, academically, Emily is excelling, receiving great grades. Emily is one of the brightest students I have come across in my teaching career. She is always a step ahead of her peers academically because she continues to challenge herself intellectually. She is organized and reliable. Because of her hard work ethic and determination, she is a leader amongst her peers. As a member of the Hispanic Culture Club, Emily has contributed to many fundraising and community service events. Emily has participated in cheerleading, indoor track, and lacrosse for all 3 years as a Red Wing. But her interest does not stop there, as she is also a member of our Hispanic Culture Club, Theater Arts, National Honor Society, Diversity Club, and Agape Club. For me, I am always so proud when a student takes advantage of all the opportunities that exist both in our school and outside of our school. She is involved, intelligent, kind, and a caring young lady who exemplifies everything you want a student to exemplify. It is no surprise that Emily's post-secondary plans include applying to Felician College and St. Peter's University to study nursing. When notified about the award, Emily said, "I'm really shocked. I can't believe I have to go before the Board of Education." Emily would like to thank the school for acknowledging all of her academic, athletic, and co-curricular activities. Congratulations, Emily. So I asked Emily to stay up here, and I'm also going to invite Kiara Lee Eckhart and Mia Gilliard. Come over here, doll. So Mia Gilliard couldn't make it this evening, but as I mentioned in my So these beautiful young ladies are part of our, which I had mentioned in Emily's speech, the Stevens ACES Summer Pre-College Program. The opportunity that exists there, it started a year ago. We sent some students. They all have full scholarships to this, mind you. They're going there full scholarship. But the commitment it takes to enroll and fill out the application and go through this process is it's not just like click and send. There's a lot of edits and resend, and did you turn this in? I kept on getting like little reports, this one owes this one, this one owes that one. But I'm so pleased when students take time out of their summer and are going to experience something that the girls who went last year said it changed their life. They are fully immersed in a program where they live on campus, they interact with different partnering schools that are also there. They are working with Stevens professors, they're mentored by students, they get to experience a bit of dorm life, and they get to experience a little bit of being a student at Stevens Institute of Technology. It's not an easy program. Of course, I'm a proud mama here with all my 3 girls. Can't wait to hear about everything great they do. I believe you are biomedical sciences and you are biomedical sciences, engineering or biology. So she did the biomedical sciences too. So all 3 are biomedical science. They get to choose a major when they go. They all chose the same one, which is biomedical sciences. So stay tuned. I imagine in September, October, we'll have an update. But thank you. Step in front of that so it's not. Em, I think this is your last one too. There we go. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Tonight, I'll capture via a brief presentation our Women's History Month work this past month. This Friday, we will link a video presentation similar to what we did for Black History Month, and that will go out to all families via the Herald. From the first settlers who came to our shores, from the first American Indian families who befriended them, men and women have worked together to build this nation. Too often, the women were unsung, and sometimes their contributions went unnoticed. But the achievements, leadership, courage, strength, and love of the women who built America was as vital as that of the men whose names we know so well. President Jimmy Carter, as he designated National Women's Week in 1980. From a week to a month. In 1978, the Education Task Force of Sonoma County Commission on the Status of Women planned and executed a Women's History Week celebration. The organizers selected the week of March 8th to correspond with International Women's Day. The movement spread across the country as other communities initiated their own Women's History Week celebrations the following year. In 1980, a consortium of women's groups and historians led by the National Women's History Alliance successfully lobbied for national recognition. Women's History Month became a national celebration in 1981 when Congress passed legislation that authorized and requested the President to proclaim the week beginning March 7, 1982, as Women's History Week. In 1987, Congress passed additional legislation that designated the month of March 1987 as Women's History Month. This year's theme is Visionary Women, Champions of Peace and Nonviolence. I am proud to share some of our theme-inspired events by school and have also composed a brief presentation that, as I shared at the onset, will be linked to this week's Herald. The programs put in place by each school community were thoughtful and historically stimulating. I title these Hoboken's Top 20 for Women's History Month. They engaged in activities that included comprehension questions, vocabulary exposure, graphic organizers in which they used to compare notable figures. They researched and used what they found to create a multidisciplinary and cross-curricular museum-like experience. They participated in a Women's History Month book fair. This fair allowed them to select one woman and work independently on projects. Each project had the following requirements of a timeline, a writing passage, pictures, and interesting details about their selected figure. They created self-portraits inspired by famous women artists, celebrated famous athletes, and female warriors and scientists. They produced mural-style portraits for their Women in History exhibits. They created and curated gallery walks. They developed a short fact sheet poster featuring women in history that have impacted our lives and their own lives. They reimagined Mount Rushmore, depicting inspirational women, recreating the carvings on Google Slides, and completing a research paper on the 4 women they chose. They picked an important woman in their lives, and they wrote about her. They went on walking field trips to the Hoboken Library. They worked in groups to choose a local public policy issue that they felt passionate about and worked to see how they can improve the issue. Students read and cited text evidence on women they were studying. These included such women, but were not limited to, Clara Barton, Helen Keller, Susan B. Anthony, Harriet Tubman, and Sojourner Truth. They shared visual representations. They created a movie poster. They analyzed the novel Hidden Figures and gained deeper understanding of the historical detail and the struggle of 4 African-American women mathematicians who helped achieve some of NASA's greatest moments in history. They shared facts during morning announcements of a historical or present women's fact quote. These were then aligned in their classrooms by the teachers who would often display daily facts that allowed them for further reflection. They actively participated in a door decorating contest in which they created door design projects based on contributions of women authors, humanitarians, inventors, scientists, and engineers. They went on field trips, like to the Frida Kahlo exhibition at the Brooklyn Museum. They learned how to see themselves as leaders by attending the Female Empowerment Seminar at Jersey City Medical Center. Finally, they participated in the following panel discussion: women's healthcare issues, female first responders, women in government and politics, and women's empowerment. To the board, to our superintendent, especially to our school community, I ask you to join me in a rousing round of applause for both students and teachers who worked so diligently on Women's History Month this past month.
Ms. Versace, do you want to come up and say a few words?
Nothing like getting your name called and you know where to be found. Sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. My name is Roseanne Versace. I am a 4th grade teacher at Wallace School, and I thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Johnson and members of the Board of Education and our guests here tonight. The announcement of the retirement of Gary Enrico is a bittersweet moment for him, to be sure, but it is also one for the 270 members of the Hoboken Education Association who consider him their leader and the wonderful young students under his tutelage. I don't know if I can encapsulate a 43-year career in education within a 5-minute time limit, but I'll do my best. Gary Anthony Enrico is a native son of Hoboken. He is a proud graduate of Hoboken High School who has dedicated the better part of his life and his entire career to the education and enrichment of the children of the public school system in Hoboken, the city he loves. Gary served as band director for 40 years, as a district music director and instructor, bringing the joy of music and playing an instrument to countless students who otherwise would not have had the opportunity. Watching him interact with his students demonstrates the joy of what teaching is all about. Treating students with respect, humor, and just enough authority to stress the importance of what they are learning. He is patient and encouraging and supportive, even when they might be frustrated and ready to give up. In addition to this, who can forget Gary as the master of ceremonies at every spring and winter concert to our memory? The nonchalant and humorous personality, his nonchalant and humorous personality and the way he rouses the children in anticipation for the arrival of Santa. As president of the HEA, Gary has demonstrated that adversity doesn't need to be at the forefront of the relationship between the association, the superintendent, the administration, and the Board of Ed. Over the years, he has succeeded in bridging the gap and eliminating the us and them mentality. It is through his easygoingness, if that's a word, and sense of treating people like family and friends that he has enabled the HEA to work closely and congenially with the Board of Ed and administration. We will all miss Gary being Gary. Through the many changes this district has experienced over the past 14 and dare I say 43 years, one of the constants has been Gary. Through his guidance and his leadership and the love of music he has imparted on his students, he has made the Hoboken Public School District the best district and one we are all proud of. On behalf of everyone here tonight and the members of the HEA, and most importantly, the hundreds of students he has served over 43 years, I wish you a restful, enjoyable, and a very long retirement. I've taken some liberties to change some of the words of Elphaba and Glinda from the musical Wicked and the song For Good. Who can say if we have been changed for the better? Because we knew you, we have been changed for good. Thank you.
Thank you. I did ask Dr. Johnson, and I will address the board with formal remarks in my going away meeting, but Roseanne, being president of the association, this is one of the best things that happened to me, becoming friends with Roseanne and her dedication and loyalty to the association and to me, and I really appreciate it, Roseanne. I thank you for those kind words. But it's been a long time, and all you have to do is just go out of Hoboken with a Hoboken shirt on, and I'll run into somebody, a former student. Even when we were going on a Disney cruise, the guy that was checking people in was a former student, and I didn't have to wait online with the whole family. We just went onto the boat. And my granddaughters wanted to know, we're not waiting online. I said, it's a long story. But there's two things. Dave said something once, and he didn't realize how funny it was, because he didn't laugh, but I found it hysterical. Because when you're president of an association, you have 270 members, and some people, they're not happy, so there's nothing you can do about that. But one day I was talking to someone, and Dave was there. I said, this is one guy that can't wait for me to retire, and he responded, I'm not the only one. So he brought me down to, and a couple of weeks ago, I was online in Lisa's Deli, because I went to school with all those guys, and one of my former students is, checking me out, and I said to the girl, I says, I think I'm going to retire, and I hear somebody behind me say, finally. So I said to my wife, I think it's time for me to go, but Roseanne, I really appreciate those words, and it was my pleasure, actually. I'm one of the richest people you're going to meet, trust me. And I thank you, and I'll have some more comments at the June meeting, but thanks a lot. Thanks, everyone.
We have one more high school student to be recognized.
Amia Edmondson. So at the high school, we elect for every grade, and then we have an overall student of the month. But this month, Amia was our senior student of the month. And anyone who knows her loves her. She is a girl who I've known how many years now? 6 years, right? The growth and the strength and the tenacity that she attacks things with is something that you don't find in a lot of students. She overcomes obstacles. She does so sometimes with tears, sometimes with smiles. She is always, always ready to do something. Miss Miller will attest, she wanted to be in the theater program, right? Remember that? She was very, very adamant about wanting to be in the theater program. So she tried out, and she didn't make every play, right? There were tears because we don't always get the part, right? But it didn't stop her. She kept on going, and she kept on going, and she got a part. Aren't you in the Peter Pan this year? Yeah. Well, Addams Family, I'm sorry. I know, I'm going backwards. I apologize, the Addams Family. But I just thought she's special, and I wanted to take a moment to just recognize her for how special she is. And what are your college plans? Where you wanted to share with where you're going?
I'm not sure where I'm going yet, but my top choice is Montclair. It's just like financial, and based on that, which school I'm decide to go to.
Okay, so we're going to look forward to hearing where she goes, but I wanted to congratulate her because as a principal, she's dear to my heart, knowing her for 6 years. I'm going to miss her, and I just wanted to give her a special shout out, Amia Edmondson.
Wow, that was a lot of great news shared with us tonight. I'd like to congratulate all of the students recognized this evening. I'm so proud of each and every one of you. And I'd like to extend a thank you to Dr. Johnson and her administration and our teachers. I know how hard each of you work each and every day to get us this far. We're recognized on a state and national level, and I know there's no stopping you now. So I look forward to the time ahead. I was going to share this during the President's report, but I'll share it now since we have a large audience. But I recently had a conversation with a community member who does not have children in the district. And I filled them in on some of the many great happenings going on in each of our schools, and they were amazed. So while our community, our district community, may be aware of the many student accomplishments and district recognitions, it is hard to get the message pushed out to the broader community. So I hope after hearing tonight all of the wonderful recognitions and accomplishments by our students, our teachers, our district as a whole, that you'll take the time to share this with the broader community. And that's it. So I think we're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll get back into the business portion of our meeting. Thank you. Okay, we're going to get started again. We will now move into committee reports. This month, we did not meet, the Facilities Committee and the Governance Committees did not meet together. However, the agendas were sent out to each board member. Everyone had the chance to review the agenda and ask questions to Dr. Johnson and to the committee chair. With that being said, Mr. Bolden, do you have a business administrator's report?
I do not.
Okay, and moving on to curriculum and wellness, Ms. Stelera.
Sure. There's no items on the agenda tonight for a vote. We did meet on April 4th at 12:30 p.m. In attendance were Ms. Angley, Ms. Evans, Ms. Khanna, Dr. Johnson, Ms. Rodriguez, and myself. Dr. Johnson covered a lot of what we discussed, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, Finance.
The Finance Committee met on Thursday, April 4th at 7:30 p.m. In attendance were Ms. Angley, Mr. Bolden, Mr. Delatorre, Ms. Evans, and myself. We recommend all agenda items for approval. Some items of note, we discussed the amendment to the tentative 2019-2020 budget that reflects the updated dollar amount for pre-K aid from the state of New Jersey. We also discussed paid meal increases for the 2019-2020 school year. Paid lunch and paid breakfast will be increasing by 25 cents each, and the overall contract with Pomptonian will increase in line with the Consumer Price Index for next year. Additionally, we discussed the $51,000 in reallocated Title I grants that the district received. And that was all, and again, we recommend all agenda items for approval.
Okay, thank you. Board members, are there any questions or comments other than what you've already reached out to ask about? No? Okay, then we will move on to public comments. Let's see. Public comments on agenda items only. Mr. Bolden, who do we have?
There are no speakers about the agenda items.
Okay, so then we can move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Okay, do we have any items to discuss or items to pull tonight? No? Okay. Mr. Bolden, can you please call roll?
Sure. Ms. Kadamatori.
Yes.
Ms. Delara.
I need to abstain from item 9.17 and yes on everything else.
Mr. Delatorre.
Yes.
Ms. Evans.
Yes.
Ms. Khanna.
Yes.
Mr. Klipfo.
Abstain on 10.01 and yes on the rest of the agenda.
Ms. McGuirk.
Yes.
Ms. Takarian.
Yes.
Ms. Angley.
Yes.
Motions pass.
Okay, moving to public comments on agenda and non-agenda items.
Okay, the first speaker is Mr. Joseph Gallo.
And before anyone speaks, I want to remind speakers of our board policy. Please state your name, your municipality of residence, and business affiliation, if any. Speakers are allowed 5 minutes, and we will motion at the 4-minute mark.
Chair, can I just, okay, I'm sorry.
Please address.
We're here to discuss the Calabro School, and there's quite a few of us, so it's up to you if you want to hear us all at one time, or if you want it staggered, that's entirely up to you.
You're each going to speak for 5 minutes?
Say?
You're each going to speak?
Probably, several of us will speak, but I don't think we'll each speak for 5 minutes.
Okay, but you don't have to take up the whole time, but we'll just do it one after the other.
One after the other, okay.
Yeah, but, and please address all your comments to me. The board policy states that board welcomes comments on matters of interest to the board, but this is not an opportunity for dialogue.
It's fine, okay. My name is Joseph Gallo. I'm a Hoboken resident for 30 years. Okay, I'm here to discuss Calabro. And when I'm walking through town and I meet people who I don't know and they ask, we start talking about kids and they ask where your kids go to school, and I say Calabro, the first thing that they ask is, well, what do you think of Calabro? And I say, I love Calabro. And while I can't speak for the other parents, I can say that the overall feeling that I get from the other Calabro parents is that they feel the same way. Now, I want to tell you a quick story. Yesterday, we went to see the mayor, a group of us. And we went there because we were hoping that maybe he could, in some way, help resolve this situation. And while we were waiting, we were outside and we were discussing the situation. And a parent leaned into us and said, I'm sorry, I couldn't help but overhear you. I'm a new parent here in Hoboken. And I was told that Hoboken is great for pre-K 3 and 4 because it's free. But then after that, you might want to think about moving because the public school system is really bad. And I said, people say that to you? And he goes, yeah, pretty much everybody says that to me. And without even missing a beat, another woman over here says, I'm sorry, I overheard what you were saying, and my kids go to private school and we spend so much money. I wish that the Hoboken public school system was better. And I said, you know what? I can't say that about Calabro. I love Calabro. And she said, well, then why are they closing it? We go inside to talk to the mayor, and the first question I ask him is, where do your kids go to school? And he says to Elysian. And I say to the mayor, well, you know, I have a theory that if your kids go to charter schools, it's because you really don't think much of the public school system. And the mayor said, no, that's wrong. My kids went to the public school system. I like the public school system, but I like having a choice. And that's why I put my name into the lottery. And I realized that the mayor was right. And I respected what he had to say. And then I also realized that one of the things that is sort of off-putting about what's happening here around Calabro is that we don't feel respected because you're taking our choice away. We have no choice. We can say what we want to say, but we really have no say. Things feel a little rushed, okay? And it also feels like there's no time, okay? We're in a position, okay, where you are going to vote. You are going to tell us what you are going to do, and we have to take that. We have no choice. And so I have a feeling that the third recommendation is what Dr. Johnson is going to put forth, and I ask that you amend that to say that this is going to happen not in the fall of 2019, but the fall of 2020. The same way that you rolled out the 6th grade and gave us all ample time, okay, moving it obviously to the middle school, you all give us ample time to think about this, to think about our choices, possibly give you an opportunity to have proper time to rebrand this strategy, and at the same time, perhaps even a solution could be found. Because I want to close by saying and leaving you with an image. Okay, it's an important image, I think, because it speaks to something that nobody ever really talks about, or not publicly anyway, or I certainly haven't heard it, about the narrative of the public school system. On May 5th, there's going to be a street fair, and there's going to be a kiosk on that street fair, and it's a business that relocates people out of Hoboken. I don't know who owns this business. They may even be in this room, I don't know. And I find this business to be both diabolical and ingenious. It's diabolical because it's clearly not about community building, but it's ingenious because of the way they sell it. They hang a huge banner over their kiosk with the number 260 highlighted of the 300 public schools in the state of New Jersey. Hoboken, number 260. And the dialogue that I hear, okay, and I've worked the kiosk next to it and across, is this. Yeah, Hoboken is great for pre-K 3 and pre-K 4, but after that, because it's free, but after that you might want to think about moving because the school system is really bad. And they point to the number, okay? And I feel that what we're doing here, what we're in danger of doing here in terms of the narrative, is extending that narrative. Because a month from now, if this is approved, all the headlines are going to say the same thing, which is that Hoboken's top performing elementary school has been closed. And the numbers speak to that. The numbers speak that the New Jersey Public Education listings has Hoboken as the number 89 school. The number 89 school. We're in the top 4% in the state. You could arguably mount a PR campaign and call Calabro the jewel of the Hoboken public school system, but instead, we may end up in this other direction. And I ask you to please consider at what cost is the narrative in this town around the education system. Because if outside of space, the second most important thing that you guys need to do is to change the narrative. And I hope that you think about that. And I hope you also consider the 100+ families at Calabro who did not move, but who stayed. Thank you for listening.
Mr. Bolden, who's our next speaker?
Ms. Tobler.
Again, please state your name, municipality of residence, and business affiliation, if any.
Good evening, Ms. Angley. My name is Sarah Tobler. I'm a parent to a kindergarten student at Calabro and a 3-month-old that we hope to attend the public schools in Hoboken as well. I've lived in Hoboken since 2005, and I've continued to embrace this community despite the fact that both my partner and I work in the suburbs of New Jersey. We both were educated in the public education system and ultimately went on to receive 3 master's degrees and a PhD between the two of us. We believe that public education is what's best for our children. As we just heard, the reputation of the public schools in Hoboken is not good. However, my husband and I have had faith that the district is doing what it needs to do in order to improve both the quality of the schools and their reputations. Our instincts were seemingly proven right when we became a part of the Calabro community 7 months ago. We saw that parents are involved, the staff members are fantastic, and the students are eagerly learning. Even though we have had a great experience so far at Calabro, I have noticed an increasing lack in transparency, a trend in lack of transparency and a lack of long-term planning. I'm realizing that nearly every decision at the board level is opaque, with little to no input from the very demographic you are voted in to represent. There are huge decisions being made on a regular basis that seem to be made without much forethought, based on a single problem, single solution concept, without having an open dialogue with the community that it directly impacts. Some of these decisions have probably improved the district for the better. However, it's a take it or leave it attitude, it seems. And many parents, as you hear over and over again, including the prior speaker, Mr. Gallo, they choose to leave it after taking advantage of the public preschool program, unless they get into a charter school. Unfortunately, now we are feeling this take it or leave it attitude being applied to this wonderful community at Calabro without any chance to participate in its outcome, or at a minimum, have a productive dialogue about what's best for the district and where we as Calabro students and parents fit into that. This decision affects my child, who knows the entire school after only 7 months of course. I'm not concerned about my child attending Brant, for the record. I also understand that this is not an easy decision, and there are a lot of stakeholders involved that this impacts. I happen to be in corporate finance. I unfortunately understand that this contracting school budget coinciding with increasing needs of the district is very complicated. But yet again, we are looking at very large decisions being made without any transparency or input from those that it impacts the most in a very extremely hasty manner. As I said in the April 1st Calabro parent meeting, if we had some time to digest and plan this collectively, meaning the district, Board of Ed, parents, at least one school year, again, it was just mentioned, I believe the reaction would be very different, even if we arrived at the same outcome. Why can't we embrace the unusual strength and passion of the Calabro community and leverage that to make the best decision for the district, instead of creating more division and hurt feelings within the active members of our non-charter public schools? I'm now thinking, what other large change is going to happen in the near future that will impact my children directly? What about large decisions that will not impact us directly, at least not immediately, but further damage the capability and reputation of our schools? We clearly have a lot of planning to do as a district to figure out where we are putting 990 children that are entering pre-K 3 and 4 next year as they continue on to our elementary school and beyond. Where is this long-term plan? I'm confident that you cannot even guarantee that my kindergarten student at Calabro today will definitely be at Brant through 5th grade with this option 3. And that's simply disappointing and frightening as a parent to a sensitive young child. What is being proposed as option 3 to merge Calabro into Brant simply does not address the mushrooming population of young children in Hoboken. Where does it leave those of us that have believed in the public schools here in Hoboken and been actively involved? I personally do not want to be a disenfranchised member of the Hoboken public school community. I also want the 990 pre-K children to all stay in the system here and make our school district all that it can be, all that it should be. If we continue to alienate the parents of current students that are beyond the pre-K level, like all of us here, and those that couldn't make it here tonight, I'm not sure that will happen. I recognize that the administration and the Board of Ed has a very difficult job this year and every year, managing some complex space and budgetary issues as well as making large strides forward as a public school district. You are in a tough position, and I don't envy that. However, we need more transparency, we need more communication, and we need more long-term planning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Clark?
Hi, please state your name.
My name is Daniel Kluk, and I'm here tonight as a parent.
Residence and business affiliation, if any.
I live in Hoboken.
Okay.
I have no business affiliations
Okay.
besides paying taxes. I'm here tonight as a parent of a Calabro student in order to express my deep concern regarding the recent news of the proposed closing of Calabro. Again, based on the information that has been provided thus far, what is clear is that there is no long-term strategy to deal with the future budgetary and demographic shifts in Hoboken. The closing of Calabro has been very rushed and a knee-jerk decision. It was only last year that the board acted to expand Calabro by adding another kindergarten class. However, as was indicated by Dr. Johnson at the April 1st meeting, this has only been considered for about a month or a little over a month. At the very least, we need more time to consider all the alternatives to close, again, the highest performing school in elementary school in Hoboken. Furthermore, Calabro families deserve more time to make well-informed decisions about the upcoming school year, since the late timing of the decision has barred us from finding alternative arrangements for next year. Charter school lotteries closed, a lot of other parochial schools, other options are all closed. Based on the information that has been provided, what is also clear is that the Board of Education has not fully considered alternative solutions that would help meet the district needs without closing Calabro. Of the justifications given by Dr. Johnson on the April 1st meeting, the increase in contractual salaries, health care insurance costs, the charter school funding, they're already being addressed by the almost $2.5 million in property tax increases. This was noted in the tentative budget on March 19th. So if you distill down the presentation that Dr. Johnson gave, the decision seems to ultimately come down to two things. First, find a solution to physically house the 7 additional pre-K classrooms, and second, protecting the jobs of some of the staff, clerical and administrative positions, which Dr. Johnson confirmed is one of her highest priorities. So let me provide to you some compelling alternatives to deal with these issues without closing Calabro or degrading the educational experience of our student. I know there was an article on New York, NJ.com, where you said that there weren't any credible alternatives or compelling alternatives. So I hope this is at least the start of a conversation for possibly developing an alternative that will keep Calabro open. Regarding the physical need to house the 7 additional pre-K classrooms, Calabro currently has 4 open specialized rooms, plus 1 room that the 6th grade is currently using. So these rooms are art, Chinese, science, and 1 more, music. Why do we not use these 4 open classrooms for 4 of the new pre-K classes next year? This will give us the opportunity and the time to develop a transparent, long-term strategy, because next year, who knows how much they're going to cut our budget, and so on. Hoboken receives over $14 million in state aid for preschool education. This equates to about $215,000 per pre-K classroom. So by doing this, we will be able to assign part of the operating cost of Calabro to the pre-K budget next year, and thereby save some of these staff positions. Regarding the need to cut costs, we have come up with some additional cost-saving measures that were listed as positives for closing Calabro, but weren't considered for keeping it open. So in recommendation number 1, first, move the Passport to Learning to Brant. This will save around $92,000 next year. The next ones, I don't have the exact numbers. I've asked Dr. Johnson, she responded this afternoon. I haven't looked at that, so maybe there's more information there. The second is to serve lunch at Calabro via satellite. That will have some savings. To share a principal with Brant or Connors. That, again, will have some savings. To share a nurse with Brant or Connors, again, that will have some savings. To charge before and after care as if we are a provider, which the other pre-K programs allow, and so that would add actually additional income. So all of these possibilities, I think, are compelling alternatives that deserve further study. As you know, I don't have all the information. There might be nuances to this that you're privy to that we're not. I would like to be privy to that. We would like to be privy to that. So thank you for your time. I hope you will consider what we've said, and good luck.
Thank you.
I can't read the Serba?
Hello, my name is Sherban Sabo. I live in Hoboken since 2011. I live at 812 Grand Street. If it's okay with the board, I would let the Calabro speakers take turns and I will speak last.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Ms. Vera Savota?
Vera Sirota, Hoboken, New Jersey. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak tonight. I wanted to add my voice and thoughts as a Brant parent and someone who volunteers with the PTO, as the administration and Board of Education engage in an important conversation that I know brings many parents here tonight. The moment I became a mother 8 years ago, I was overwhelmed by how vulnerable I felt. It continues to be a daunting responsibility to serve as a caretaker of another human being. I always love the famous quote from Elizabeth Stone because I felt that it perfectly encapsulated those feelings. She says, "Making the decision to have a child is momentous. It is to decide forever to have your heart go walking outside your body." Those words deeply resonate with me, and I think about them now as the many parents here tonight may feel that sense of vulnerability. And if I may, just humbly wanted to speak to that in the best way that I can from my point of view. Brant has been home for my daughter Nina Helen since she started pre-K3. She's now a second grader. We were warmly embraced by a gifted and visionary principal who now proudly serves as our assistant superintendent, Ms. Rodriguez Gomez. She always had a laser-like focus on the well-being and achievement of our kids. And she helped to set a foundation of love and progressive education that is a proud part of our school's legacy. And the work now continues under a most worthy successor, Mr. Bartlett. From our sister school of Wallace, he has brought a creative and inclusive energy, and music, lots of music. I am a firm believer in Mr. Bartlett's leadership and his capacity to be an agent of social change. What every parent wants to know when it comes to their children's school is, can I trust you with the most precious person in my life? I wanted to share that this trust is sacred and I know must be earned. It's my sincere belief that the Joseph F. Brant School has the potential to grow into a home for many families. And I also want to say that I very much feel personally invested in nurturing that sense of belonging and connection so others feel welcomed during that process. I think we have the potential to be stronger together, and we can seize this moment to do that. The Brant Kindness Pledge, which is recited by our students on a daily basis as part of our morning routine, states that we are here for others if they fall or call. And I just very humbly, with an open heart, wanted to say that we are here for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Kara Cohen?
Hi there. I'm Kara Cohen. Some of you I know personally, some of you I've hung out with.
Please state your
sorry.
municipality of residence.
I'm sorry?
Municipality of residence.
Hoboken, New Jersey. Okay.
Thank you.
which is amazing. Thank you so much for your time, really appreciate it. I know there's a lot of us, but I think the core at this, what you're finding, is we love our school. I'm not going to cry, I'm just going to chat for a couple minutes. I've been in Hoboken 19 years, love it here. This is my home, I never want to leave. That said, all my friends from when I first had my baby, all left, every single one. My husband and I decided to stay for preschool. I know a lot of us took advantage of the free preschool. Fantastic. Then we were like, do we stay? Do we go? We heard about Calabro, got placed at Calabro. Lovely. And I'm not going to get emotional, but my knees are shaking. It is a family. And I say it's a family because, and I know every school is wonderful. Brant, I'm sure it's amazing. I'm sure if she had to leave Brant, she'd probably want to fight for it, the woman who just spoke. The reason it's amazing, our staff and our teachers are dedicated, not like they're not everywhere else. You know, the grandparents tell the story about walking 5 miles uphill in the snow, that kind of thing. We have a teacher who drives 2 hours one way, has an infant, and if we have extracurriculars on the weekends, she'll drive to see us, leave her baby, and wear a shirt that says, I love my third graders. That probably happens to other schools, but that's my school. There's lots of parent involvement, as others have said, and all of this comes down to successful, happy kids. I know people keep talking about our park scores. That should be a feather in Hoboken's cap, but instead I feel like it's not being celebrated, it's being squashed. The optics of it are obviously not good. It just makes no sense. And again, for those of you who are wondering why don't you want to go to Brant? I'm sure Brant is great, or you should want to go to Brant. 2 things. When I was told you should want or we should want, they have a stage. That's fine. We don't feel like we're missing anything, to be honest. We have a multi-purpose room. Doesn't sound like much. It works. I'll sit there 24 hours a day if it means we can keep our school. There's a rooftop playground. Fantastic. We have a park. We like going to the park. I don't feel, again, like we're missing anything. And again, if people like to say you should be or we should be happy to go, I, for one, don't like my choice of where my children go to be questioned. I'm happy with them there, and if you're telling me they should be somewhere else, that questions why I sent them there to begin with, I feel. I understand it's the same curriculum. That's fine. We have a recipe for success. I don't know why someone would want to mess with that. I'm not saying you do. I know this has been a lot of hard work. I've heard a lot of great things about all of you up there, and that's great, but can we please, please, please look at alternatives? My friends and now my team, and quite honestly, those of us who want to stay, we're just stronger as a family. It's absolutely ridiculous, I'm going to be honest with you. But for those of us that have met and gone into detail about other alternatives, there is a way. We just need to agree on it, and we need you to agree on it, because as Mayor Bala mentioned, his family, I think he says they're for choice. We don't have that choice, again. And if we have the choice, unfortunately, a lot of us are probably going to move. There's already people looking at suburbs ready to pull the trigger. They're going to go to private schools, they're going to go to charter schools. And it's my understanding you lose 120 grand per pupil if we go to charter schools. So I don't want to leave, and I feel like we're being wrongfully evicted. I know that sounds strong, but it's true, that's our home. So Brant is great, but we want to stay in our home. I didn't cry, but I want to thank you so much, because it's just so important. You're going to be hearing from many of us over and over and over again. And on my final note, I know it was mentioned in one of the other recommendations that, well, if you stay, we're going to fill your class to capacity. That'd be awesome, because we'd love to have more people in our little family. We'll give them a Calabro shirt, and let me invite to all of our birthday parties, and it'll be great. So feel free to give us more family, because we're pretty good at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Cohen? Mr. Cohen? Surely.
My apologies, I came from a community service.
Please state your
I'm
name.
underdressed. So,
Please state your name and municipality of residence, please.
I'm sorry. My name is Alex Garcia, 614 Washington Street, Hoboken born and raised, 44 years, and in the public school systems since I graduated in Calabro and Hoboken High. I came here to address the whole Calabro issue. 3 years ago, my kids went to Brant, pre-K 3 and pre-K 4. They both went to Brant actually, and then transferred to Calabro after when my first one was Rosalie, to Miss Ayala's class, and then my son 2 years ago, Alexander, went to Miss Ayala's class. The transition was horrendous. It was bad. My kids cannot handle change, unfortunately. They have this thing where, they shut down. So last year I went to Miss Johnson, and Dr. Johnson, I'm sorry, and she was phenomenal. She helped me bring in a special needs teacher at Calabro. Those are services that I personally, when I was at Calabro, they had all those kind of services at Calabro. They had a teacher's assistant, a special ed teacher, everything when I was there, from kindergarten to 8th grade. So my belief that every school should have this kind of resources. And, it's unfortunate now that we have to transfer kids for other needs to Wallace or whatever the case may be. But I'm just letting you know, guys, that it's affecting my kids again now. You guys want to transfer my kids back to Brant. You guys are affecting my kids at this point. You're affecting my livelihood, my family. All right? It's not about the numbers. All right? I chose the public school system. Yes, I could have done charter school, yeah. I love Hoboken. I'm a Red Wing. And for me to, embrace, I've always spoke highly of Calabro. I've been proud to be Calabro Cougar. I'm in the best school in Hoboken. For you guys to make this change, Hoboken always gets the end of the stick. This is the third time happening to Calabro. It's the third time. Why? Your best school in Hoboken, why? I'm just saying, listen, right now, you guys, it's all about the numbers. You're affecting my kids right now, because now you could just say, oh, you're going to give them the same resources at Brant. No, because these are small classrooms. I did phenomenal Calabro and with small classrooms. I was in the honor roll. I went to Hoboken High, graduated top of the honors. I went to college of engineering at Rutgers University. I'm a network engineer right now. Why? Because I had the small environment classrooms. You could tell me as much as you want, well, you're going to have the same teachers at Brant, you're going to have the same things at Brant. No, because at the end of the day, you're going to start adding kids to the students, to the classrooms. It's going to happen. I know it. There's nothing written in paper, but you're going to say, Alex, nobody else is going to be no more than 15 kids in those classrooms. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And by you making these changes, you're pushing us really away, honestly. I'm actually considering a charter school. I never thought in my wildest dreams to consider a charter school. I was actually with one of my friends about, he's a coach at the Hoboken Charter School, Hoboken K-12. He's like, yeah, I'm the coach there, and I tried to make, last year, to make a basketball team versus the Hoboken High. I'm like, there's a charter school in high school? Like, yeah, I didn't even know that. Why? Because I love Hoboken public schools. I love my Calabro, where my kids are small, we grow up as a community. My high school friends, we're all keeping contact from Calabro. Mike Russo, a month ago, I just cursed him out at the Hoboken Council. I graduated since, 5th grade? He called me the following day. I know his dad, he knows my parents. We love each other. He's a councilman, Mike Russo. Mike Kazaza, he's a fireman. Like, we grew up together. We're a small family. That's what you're taking away from us. You're taking away from my kids, actually. Not from me, my kids. We grew up together as a small group, and we grew up from kindergarten, 5th, so on and so forth. And after 5th grade, I guess we got the middle schools. Hopefully by that time we'll get much better, because I'm hearing horror stories I'm hearing now. Not that I got involved right now. That's what I'm hearing, horror stories. I didn't even know about this. But you know what? For you guys to push me to that limit to actually consider charter school, thank you very much. And please rethink it, because now you're affecting my kids.
Thank you.
Ms. Sapernova?
Good evening. My name is Tatiana Sopranova. I'm mom of a 10-year-old who we recently moved to Hoboken around 2 years ago. And he's in 4th grade now. Of course, those 2 years were amazing because he just very easily, which I didn't expect because we moved from the South where everything is very, open-hearted and loving. So we were very happy in the school. There was, I was, as a mom, I was always afraid, how would he feel during this adjustment to a new school? And now, after 2 years being in a very nice school, very happy, he has to adjust to a new school. And after another grade, he has to go to another school to adjust again. I think this is really stressful for a child. And I'm, as a parent, I always think if I did everything I could for the child, I would like to address your hearts. If you did everything you could for our children, and if you think one more time before making a decision. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jessica Frazita?
Hi, my name is Jessica Frazita, and I'm a Hoboken resident. I've been a Hoboken resident for 15 years, and I was welcomed into the Calabro family this year. My daughter transferred in from another small school. So yes, it is about it being small, but there's just something different and special about Calabro. My daughter, who's in 1st grade, grew, her change in everything, academically, socially, everything that I've seen at Calabro has been amazing. And, I'm just so proud to be a part of that community. We actually were going to move last year because we didn't know about the Hoboken public school system. We weren't sure. And we got into Calabro, and it's actually the reason we stayed because we heard such great things about Calabro. And it exceeded our expectations. It's gone above and beyond what we had actually, thought that was going to happen. We were told how great it was. We knew it was small. We knew little things about it. But when we got in there, we were just so thankful and so happy that we were there. And we just want to try to keep that open as long as we can, just to make sure that everyone who is there now is able to continue on there at least, we said before, at least for another year, just so we can examine our other opportunities outside of the school system if that's what we'd like to do. But I just want to thank you for listening, and I just, again, would like to just let you know how special Calabro is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pete Frazita?
Hi, how are you? My name is Pete Frazita. I've lived in Hoboken now for 15 years. And Hoboken, and more importantly, Calabro, is more than just a school to me. It's a community. It's a community in which my daughter has thrived. And I don't think that you can discount that. See, last year, as my wife had pointed out earlier, we were going to leave this town. See, we were in a private school prior to Calabro. And we weren't sure about the public schools in Hoboken. We had heard a ton of different things. But we decided, once she got into Calabro, to give Calabro a shot. Calabro is different than the other schools in that its size is so much smaller, and it's more intimate and quaint. And for us, knowing our daughter, that was the environment, if she was going to excel at all in the public school environment, that was the environment where she was going to excel. And she did just that. Over the last few months, her growth has been astronomical. She has gone from, I would say, here to here. Now, for me, as a parent, that is tremendous growth. And to you as board members, I realize that you have a large decision at play here. It's more than just emotion. It's about numbers. And I balance budgets for a living, so I understand and respect the fact that that is a real big challenge. But I urge you to think beyond the numbers and to think about these kids. Not every child is going to excel in a larger environment. And I think as parents, we all know our kids. And I think the opportunities and what you've put forth in moving our kids over to Brant, although to you might sound like an equal alternative, to us it is not. The environments are tremendously different. Yes, they might have great teachers, but there are many more classes per grade. And if you know your child, and if you know how your child is going to perform in a certain environment, you're not going to take that challenge, or you're not going to take that risk and put them in an environment like that. So to me as a parent, I think that there are other alternatives. One of the other parents here mentioned there are empty classrooms or classrooms that have specialty classes. I urge you to rethink those. And I urge you to rethink about Calabro as more than just a school, but a community. Our kids have excelled at Calabro for a reason, because of the community and because of the class sizes. So thank you all for listening. And I urge you again to please rethink closing of Calabro School.
Thank you.
Ms. Pena? Ms. Pena?
Good evening. My name's Ibis Pena. I live in 306 Madison, Hoboken. I've been a Hoboken resident I'm 48, say about 40 years. As I was growing up, I attended the public school system. Now grown, I realized how good it was, way better than now. You ran into teachers on the street, you respected each other. Kids had more focused. And it was also due to the fact that there was a lot of teachers and administrators you ran into the street. You have to respect, you had to understand. Now, it's true, the Hoboken public school system is out of control. My daughter, I have 4 children. My son is 28. He attended St. Anne's. My daughter's 22. I put her in Calabro. Boys, I want to be a little tougher on him, so I send him to Catholic school to put him on the straight and narrow. But my daughter, I had to trust in the Hoboken Board of Education and put her in Calabro. Now, I live on Madison, I could have gone to Connor School, but Calabro is a small community. I wanted her in a small school. My 16-year-old went through the little process where she was graduated and sent to the middle school. Unfortunately, I was extremely disappointed, not only with the school, but with everything that goes on after school and how the kids are left to fend for themselves after school. There's no respect. They go out, leave the school, and it's crazy out there. She was brought to my house by police, by ambulance. She was bullied, she was beaten, even in the school, even by the principal. I had to send her to Boston. She's in the Wellesley school system over there, doing great. Great extracurricular activities, great school system, which I wish I could have kept her here in Hoboken. Now, my son is 8, and he goes to Calabro. And great school, great community, great test scores. You want to move him to Brant. And I understand you want to keep the integrity of the school, so you're, I guess, putting them by themselves, keeping the same principal, whatever it may be. This is a short-term resolution. Just around the corner from my house, there's a building going up. It has to be at least more than 10 stories. Right by the elevator, more new buildings went up. Hoboken only has 1.25 square miles. Central Park is 1.37. We're smaller than Central Park. Yet, what are we going to do about all of these people coming into the city? I understand the board can only do so much. I've contacted my senator, I've contacted the mayor. There has to be a resolution where the city or the state has to come forward and put up another school. Closing our school or transferring us over just to get 6 extra classrooms, or whatever the case may be. It's a little excessive, and I also feel like the parents, very short notice, I feel like we're being stepped on, because I guess the easiest path is the ones of least resistance, which is the smaller school. The least amount of people in your way. I believe that you should come up with a resolution, maybe talk to the mayor, something with the city. The city just gave up some property to, I'm not sure of all the details, but I think they're paying about between $100 and $1 a year rent as a good gesture, Hoboken did. I think you should have some kind of dialogue with the city and get something done, because there's a lot of temporary parks. They're concerned about open space, more parks, more parking. No one's talking about the major issue in Hoboken. We need more schools. This is just temporary. There has to be a way. There's properties in Hoboken just like that. Maybe look into the property at the end by ShopRite. It's a temporary park. It may be a temporary park. It's just asphalt. It can be used as a temporary school. Trailers, a couple of trees and some pots, and the center as a play area. It's big enough. You can use your imagination. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Serba? Mr. Cohen, did you want to speak?
Mr. Cohen, I've been a 14-year resident of Hoboken. I live on 2nd and Madison Street. I want to start by thanking you, Mr. Bolden. You provided me some information this week, as well as Dr. Johnson. You've all been very helpful. I appreciate your work on this matter, and I understand this is no easy task to talk about cutting the Hoboken school budget, and I appreciate your work. When we look at the numbers, it's a 0.7% overall budget cut. The $450,000 was referenced in Dr. Johnson's proposal that was rolled out to the Hoboken families. In having gone through some of the numbers within the budget, building on what some of the prior speakers have said, it does look like there are alternatives within the current budget to keep Calabro in place and make other sort of adjustments and cuts that can at least extend the amount of time that the Calabro school is open. And I think that over that time, we can look for bigger, long-term alternatives to some of the problems that this school system has. I think the current proposal, although, temporarily coming up with a solution, doesn't fix the long-term problems that Hoboken school system has. And I think that, looking at some of these alternatives seriously, like sharing services, the outsourced vendor for food services, as well as some of the other proposals that have come, are all viable options that can provide enough leeway within the budget to at least give some more time to plan this out. I think the part that was maybe surprising to a lot of members of the board was people were so upset about what happened. And I think the fact that there wasn't enough time to digest and really understand what has happened here really led to that reaction. And I think that there is a way on the table. I think there is a way forward if the board pushes for it to not be so sudden. And I think that's what this family deserves. I think that the sense of family was a little bit underestimated. And I think that it's important. And I think it's important to our students. It's important to the families that participate. I think there's a lot of people in this group that have spent time and made a conscious decision that they wanted to be part of the Hoboken Public Schools. And I think if they would have had any idea something like this would have happened, they would have made a different decision. And I fear that there are a lot of people in this group that will not be here in a year if this continues the way that it is. And I think that, you know, putting some time between this decision and actually thinking it through a little better and more thoroughly might prevent some of that. And I think that that's a viable alternative that I urge you all to consider and push upon, and really ask the question about how we can do this without cutting Calabro. I think there's a possibility. I think we just all need to work together, put our heads together, and say, how do we make this work? Thank you for your time.
Are you signed up to speak?
I'm not. You have to sign up in advance.
Yeah.
All right, I'll try and be brief. Hi, my name is Noah Zucker. I've lived in Hoboken for about 18 years. I'm employed by Novus Partners in New York City. You know, I just want to say I get it, right? My position is VP of Technology at a technology firm in the city, and we have to make a lot of tough choices. You know, I've had to make decisions to lay people off, to cancel projects. Like, it's tough, right, to have to deal with these financial issues and that affect people. You know, the difference here is obviously, I just want to echo a lot of people saying, is that it's not just the dollars and cents in a budget line item issue. It's about the kids, right? And I think Mr. Gallo said it best, that we really need to think about having maybe at least giving more time to figure out maybe some resolution rather than rushing it, because I think a lot of parents have expressed it's going to have a real impact. We need to keep that in mind. But I just want to share just a personal anecdote. As somebody who was moved to Hoboken and wasn't born and raised here, when I moved to Hoboken, we lived down by the river for a year, and then we moved over to 2nd and Jackson. And I went to get pizza at a place that's no longer there because of Sandy, but it was Best Coffee in Hoboken, right? Best Coffee in Hoboken. And I remember as I was walking in to the deli, as I walked in, there were a group of fellows standing around, and as I walked in, they said, you know, real Hobokenites, and then they saw me come in and they sort of bowed their heads and like stopped talking for a second, like mid-sentence. And I guess at the point, I mean, it's kind of trying to be what I think is a comical anecdote, but I just want to make the point that, you know, I know I'm not born and raised in Hoboken, but my kids are. And a big part of that was the community and the family that they found in Calabro. I just flew in from Austin, Texas last night, because that's where my company opened up another office. And as it turns out, that's actually where I went to high school. And before I moved to Austin, Texas, before my family moved to Austin, Texas, for middle school actually, you know, they made a really big decision about where they're going to live. And they moved us to the Eanes School District in Travis County, which had the reputation of being the best school district. So my parents had made a decision, a very important financial decision, based on one overriding factor, which was the school district and the quality of the school district. So I just want to leave with this point that this isn't just a decision about, you know, the budget and how we're going to solve these things. And a lot of people have stated more eloquently all the solutions. But I just want to reemphasize that, you know, this is a decision that affects the course of somebody's life. Okay, where they live, where people are going to move, and then what happens to those children who come up in that school district, and when they go on beyond that. So I can't elaborate on the other sort of financial points that other people have made, and I think they're very valid ones, but I just want to sort of add to the chorus of the expression of like the importance, impact on the children and the families, and would just, you know, ask that you try and find some sort of compromise, like I do in my job, where instead of just cutting people, we try and maybe put them in a new role and see how they work out, right? When we don't have a budget, we need to make them compromise like that to make it work. All right, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Serba?
Thank you. So again, my name is Sherban Sabo, 812 Grand Street, Hoboken resident since 2011. It's pretty hard to speak after the Calabro speakers. I'm afraid my points are far more prosaic. I'll try to alleviate. I hope the board will listen to them. Nonetheless, I have 2 points. One is expedite, the second one is more personal. So the first thing I'd like to ask the board if they ever consider or are planning to consider installing security cameras on the pre-K floors of Hoboken public schools. Talk to any security expert. It's a relatively very cheap measure. It's an extraordinary deterrent to all conceivable types of crimes. The content of the footage can be encrypted, is the property of the Hoboken public school system. They can only be subpoenaed if needed. The second part I'd like to bring in, it's something that's being talked about a bit these days. It's the placement of pre-K students. I have a pre-K 5 son, currently at Brand, received the letter, has been transferred to a different school. Now, according to official communication I have received from school officials, basically the criteria on which this placement is being made are, I think I quote accurately. So first of all, are social cases. There are homeless children, so of course that needs to be addressed. Then there's, quote, racial ethnic footprint, end quote, which of course is also important. I don't know if there are any quantitative measures that the board or the school administration or the mayor or the governor sets to this. It sounds very generic. It's very important, obviously. I don't know what is meant by that. I don't know if there are some broad or narrow guidelines which cover this thing. And then there is, which covers racial and ethnic footprint. And then there are students with siblings at Brand, right, that get the priority. And after that, it's proximity to school. Okay, so also, quoting from official school communications or exchanging emails, whatever, one can invoke extenuating circumstances for requiring a specific student to be placed at a specific school. Now, formally or informally, specific extenuating circumstances have a very precise meaning, right? Under the sun now and human nature, might be people that may invoke extenuating circumstances for some emotional quirk. That's deplorable. It should be reprimanded. It should be dismissed swiftly. If that's not the case and there are actually extenuating circumstances, that means, hardship, dramatic family events, trauma. The generic human nature, also the nice side or the better side to this is that usually you can get some sympathetic or some sensible approach to that. Now, I have specific circumstances for asking my son not to be removed from the Brand School. Some of the honorable board members may be aware of that. I petitioned the board somewhere in late 2017. The decision makers that ultimately remove my son from Brand are, I suppose, well aware of the circumstances. All I received 2 weeks ago was an official template letter. I think the one that was sent from my friends in Hoboken to all the parents invoking or questioning the placement procedure. I've tried to ask for a meeting. I tried to talk face-to-face to someone and, make my case. Didn't go too well. Finally, extenuating circumstances aside, in my personal case, if you take away social cases, the ethnic or social or ethnic or racial footprint, and students with siblings at Brand, and the remaining criterion is proximity to school, it means that all the cases that took priority ahead of my son live within 0.1 miles distance from the Brand School. I live at 0.2. Actually, it's less than 0.2. 0.2 is the Google Maps, but no one is infallible, not even Google. So, again, is there any way to, how should I say, to address I'll end in half a minute. To address anyone who's in a capacity of making a decision and explain this, and maybe, maybe someone actually considers it, maybe someone tells me what's going on. Is any intent...
Dr. Johnson will answer your question.
I'll answer the question for you. So the placement process is done through our Office of Early Childhood, and there is a timeline for the recommendation for a potential transfer if there is a hardship. So you express that. The Office of Early Childhood took your request for that and has it. I believe they asked if you could wait until the process begins, which is May?
I didn't receive...
And in May,
Okay.
anyone who puts in a request for a hardship, it's then discussed and a determination would be made regarding it. So your request has not necessarily been denied. Your request is just, it's as if you were asked to be a part of the timeline and the process that has been established, which is May. And that's when everything is deliberated in terms of the handful of requests that we've received for a potential transfer. So we do that very specifically so that we're not taking one at a time and moving children one at a time. We take them holistically.
So, Ms. Johnson, had I known that, what you just said to me right now, it took, I think, less than 1 minute, right? Had you told me that, because, I assume I'm a reasonable person, I wouldn't have come here tonight and wasted the board's time. If only this, had been just like, you could told me this, and then I understand, and then I don't come here and...
So, how are you this afternoon, this evening?
Not that good, Ms. Rodriguez.
So, I understand that. I can hear some of the frustration. So while you may not have received that message, I've been in constant communication with your wife. And
no, I'm sorry. So my wife and I, my wife and I talk to my wife, and I like every evening on this. I think it's impossible, literally. If anything can be possible or impossible, you can be sure of it, that you communicated something to my wife that I don't know of before, coming here. I think that's literally impossible. Had I known this
so
again...
while I can respect the fact that you're saying it's impossible, I have evidence of that. I mean, I've been in constant communication with her via email, and I've shared the May timeline.
When was this? Like, you have the date?
I forwarded it, it was maybe a week ago.
Because the last email we have from you is 2 weeks ago.
Well, I've not been communicating with you.
It's the only email, actually. The only email we received, the only communications we've had from you was 2 weeks ago. And we didn't receive any, again, something sensible, reasonable, like Ms. Johnson just said. And
which is what I shared in my email communication.
The only communication, I'm sorry. The only communication received from you was the template email that was sent out mostly to all the parents
Sir,
questioning. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're going to need to wrap this up. I think maybe if you could...
Thank you so much.
I'll be in communication with you tomorrow and lay out for you very clearly that
Thank
timeline
you so much.
and
Thank you.
restate it.
Good evening.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Does anyone have anything else? Comments? No? All right, I think that concludes, oh, sorry.
I actually wanted to say one last thing before we wrap it up. I wanted to say a special thank you to Mr. Enrico, although he always asks me to call him Gary. You will be greatly missed, and I want to thank you for your dedication, your hard work, your leadership, and your amazing support for our district, our students, and our teacher. And lastly, I'm definitely going to miss the, Gary style. Hey, where is everyone? What's going on? What's happening? But I do wish you the best. And I hope to see you at, future board meetings next year.
thank you, Bill. And I want to prepare some extra blocks in June. I'd like to be here.
Can't wait.
I appreciate it. Those kind words. Was there
We'll see you in May and June. See you tomorrow night. All right, that concludes our meeting. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Have a good night.